So some of you that heard about what's going on and being able to or managing to the learning experience from abroad or from a distance at this moment probably felt, yay, it's my time to learn the top technologies and to experience new things. But some of you might have felt like this. Um, what am I going to do? I have my all lessons learned and worked out, and how am I going to create another digital experience in no time? So actually, that's what we had to do in order to create this session. But we're going to do it together, and we're going to support you along the way. Dan is also here at the chat and is going to answer all of your questions. And we're also going to continue help you after this specific webinar. All the ways to do that will be at the final slides of this presentation. So stay tuned. So we've already done that, and you've seen that the first thing or the second tip that we want to share with you is about the audio. You need to make sure that everybody can hear you correctly, and also explain that if you speak simultaneously, you can't hear. So this is actually the first tip. Your students might not all be digital natives and know how to use Zoom. So take a moment to walk them through and have them acquainted with the bar below, specifically with the join audio button. Some of them won't enable it and won't be able to hear you. So let them know about this button using a slide as I just did. And also, if they are still having technical problems, you can request them to join to make sure that their computer audio is enabled and that they can hear you. I see that some of you wrote things at the chat, so I'm just making sure to see that you can hear. Oh, great. You're introducing yourself. Lovely. So first thing, make sure the audio works well. The basic thing that helps a video presentation, synchronous, asynchronous works well is the audio. If you can't hear me, this won't be successful. So this is the first tip we're going to give you. And today we're going to take a brief orientation through Zoom. We're going to speak about 3 main features that Zoom have, and some tips to manage the online class. And in the final moments, you're going to take a minute to be active and try it yourself. Try to share your screen, try to share your video, audio with us, and make sure that you are acquainted enough with Zoom to get started. So 3 main features that Zoom has that's gonna help you transfer your on a physical face-to-face classroom into the digital live session. You can share a screen and you can share your PowerPoint presentation as I am doing right now. You can record the session, and it's very important. We're gonna elaborate in a few minutes. And you have a feature of a whiteboard that you can doodle and write things up. We're gonna see it in a few more minutes. But orientation first. How are we going to navigate within the different buttons that Zoom has? So the navigation bar that you can see in front of you is very simple, very intuitive. You might see slight differences according to your device. And another reason that your navigation bar might be slightly different is that I host this meeting. So I have some options that hosts have, and you are students, so you have many of the options, but not all. So let's walk it through. The first thing is the audio that we've already seen, this left button. Please make sure that your students know this button. It's very important so they can hear you correctly, and also for engaging them speaking throughout the session. Video, of course. As a host, you've got to make sure that your video is enabled once the session is started. Before the session started, as you have seen, I just shared with you a PowerPoint slide, making sure that you know that you're on the right spot and you made it in. but I didn't want you to see me speaking with my kids, making sure they know not to interrupt. So I had my audio and video off, so you can play with it and start on time and enable these options. And the chat, the third button, is very, very important, uh, since unlike a traditional classroom in which the discussion with your students is being taken live, it's also live, but it's in a different zone. And it's quite hard both to manage the presentation and to be observant of the chat and take a look at what goes on there. So another tip that we're going to elaborate on soon is that this is a very important route that you have to make sure that you are using throughout the session. Send your students to write things down on the chat. And if you have a TA with you, make sure that he or she are monitoring the chat and answering students' questions. They don't have the neighbor next by, the student next by, to ask a question if they're not with you. They sometimes have technical issues. So make sure they know that they can use the chat, they can enable it, and use it throughout the session. In this moment, I'm going to look at the chat and see if you have any questions that I have to answer right now. Bottom left corner, right, great, sir. So you were with me. Other option that exists only in specific devices, but is quite cute, so I'll have you experience that in a moment, is the reaction button. You can do a like if you want to engage your students and make them comment in a quite intuitive and fast way. So if you can see the reaction button, have your thumb up right now so I can see. I'm stopping the, yeah, Karen, I see that you're with me. Dan, yay. Okay, so some of you have the reaction button, some of you may not, and this is fine. You can also use the chat, as I've mentioned before, or you have a more button that you can press and has an option to have this thumb up. So chat, emojis, any way you'd like, but make your student engaged throughout the session and make sure they're oriented, that they know about these options, audio, video, chat, and using them. So the third tip is one that I've already explained. Be attentive to the chat. Make sure that you see it once in a while and respond to your students' comments. Since you can't have the audio work to all the participants at the same time, you need to be attentive to the chat. Help is very nice to have. So Dan, thank you for your support today. And if you have a TA, once again, do make sure they're with you and helpful. Managing students' expectation, it's important offline, it's important online. It's specifically important when they're in a new surrounding, when they don't know this environment and they don't know what to expect. So take a few moments to explain, what are you going to do today? How is it being delivered? What is the best time to ask questions? We've just did that. So actually, Dan is on the chat answering your questions, and I'm going to stop in specific moments and have you ask questions out loud using the audio button or the chat. Okay, so we've created like a brief orientation to the Zoom navigation bar, and we're good to go and discuss how creating a Zoom session works. So I'm taking a quick peek at your chat. Some of what I'm presenting is assuming that you're using a presentation, correct? And I'm going to address this in a minute. Okay, so creating a Zoom lesson. As we're doing once we are delivering a lesson offline in classroom, we need a class. We need a place in which this lesson takes place. And it's also works in the same manner online, but the transition makes it a digital classroom, and you need a link. You just need a link that your students will have, and they know where is this lesson held. So how are you creating this link? How are you creating a new class? Once you have your Zoom full subscription to the Zoom, the full license, you go to my account, and I'm going to address how do you manage this license soon. So need not worry. You go to my account and you click on meeting to schedule a new meeting. You would like to schedule a meeting ahead, so you will be able to send your students this link via Moodle or via email before the session, so they can be with you on time. And this is why you're scheduling it from upfront. So meeting a new schedule. You then choose the topic and manage the time options. Make sure that you are on Tel Aviv or Jerusalem time. And once you're done, you're going to receive this link, this blue link that you can copy and send it to your students. So the end goal is to have this link, and you can share it with your students. Any questions about this process? I'm going to look at the chat right now. I have a Zoom account through a university I teach. Okay. If you have an extended license, you do not need a TAU account, but you need to make sure that you have an extended license. If your license is free, then it's only up for 40 minutes. Some countries have extended, Zoom has extended this license in specific countries, like China, in the meanwhile. But in Israel, it's not yet, this extended license is not available currently. So you need an extended license. It doesn't matter if it's TAUs or another extended license. Okay. Yeah, so moving forward. So once we've created the online session, when we have the link so we can share with our students, we can start sharing our screen. I assume that you are using a presentation, and I will explain soon, but the main functionality is sharing your screen, so they'll be able to see you, to see other students. So in the same bar, in the same navigation panel that we have already been acquainted with, you choose share screen once you'd like to share your screen, of course. And then all the tabs that are open at your PC are in front of you, and you have to choose which one to share. Make sure that you are closing tabs that you do not like your students to see beforehand, and only opening those you're going to use throughout the session. So once you've clicked on share screen, we advise that you click on screen. It means that you are sharing your screen. If you are moving from one page to another, your students are going to see that. I'm going to let you see that soon. If you're not going to use that, if you're creating or choosing a different pathway, they're going to see only that. And once you are moving to a different page, they're not going to be with you. So just click on share screen, and they'll be with you throughout the session. Okay, so of course that I can share a presentation, and I do recommend that you have a presentation. It doesn't have to be the main practice of the lesson, but it helps that you have a visual to make sure they're on track. It's quite hard to sit at home if you are currently thinking about something else and then trying to get back on track. It's harder than in classroom. that you can ask somebody or trying to catch up. So it's good that they can have a visual aid to walk with you throughout the session, even if you are discussing. Take the questions that you are currently discussing, post it on PowerPoint so they can see it and they can see it throughout the discussion. You can also, of course, use the chat and post it there. But it's very helpful that they can see a presentation along the way. Okay, any questions about that? Because I've seen that you've commented on that before.
Well,
yeah,
I do have a question, and that is how you upload something, for example, from PowerPoint, which I use. I mean,
great. So I can share anything that is currently open on my PC. So at this moment, I'm going to stop share the presentation, and I'm going to share something else with you. So just a minute there. Okay. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen in the same manner that I let you see before. I just chose the option share screen and then screen, but now I'm going to a different page. For instance, I can go to a download Excel or another internet page. I can go to Tel Aviv University's online specific for the Corona abruption website, in which you have many other materials. Currently, I'm sorry, in Hebrew, but we're working on it along the way. So I can go through many different pages and have them see all these media. I can present a PDF file, for instance. Oh, it's gonna, yeah, sorry guys. It's gonna take a moment just to be open. Can you still see can you still see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, okay, lovely. So actually every content that is open on your laptop is visible to your students. So you can share, you can share whatever you'd like. It doesn't have to be a PowerPoint. Just think about what you're presenting. Is that sufficient? Does that answer your question?
yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's the question, okay. When sharing your screen, what happens to the Zoom screen?
So that is the next slide. So I'm going to return to the PowerPoint.
You just went to mute.
Yeah, I know. Just a second. Okay. So when I'm sharing my screen, I don't see the whole view of Zoom. What I see is just the red and green bar that you can see in front of you. Very thin line, red and green. And this is a place that I can stop the sharing if I'd like, or continue sharing. And if I want to get a sense of the whole general experience, if I'm going to this red-green line with my mouse and hovering it, then once again, the bar, the navigation panel that we've seen before, is opened and I can use it again. So I can choose if I see the chat once I'm presenting my screen, if I'm hiding it from me because it's too much distraction. But if I won't hover this red-green line, you won't see the whole Zoom experience, and you might not be able to see if people are commenting, writing, etc. So be attentive to this red-green line. Okay, if you have any other questions, this is a great time.
Yeah, can you repeat that, please? The red-green line, are we supposed to see the red-green line? We're not supposed to see the red-green line? It hasn't appeared until now. It doesn't appear on my screen.
Okay. Just a second.
I think that's only from a presenter's perspective.
Okay.
Can you see it right now?
I can see it on
the presentation. On the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since you are not the hosts of the meeting, right now, you are not seeing this line because you're not sharing your screen at the moment. But of course, if you are in my position and sharing your screen, you'll see the same view. So that's why I've captured this picture into this slide, because you can't see it at the moment. But moving on, a few minutes from now, you'll experience it yourself and take a quick peek and try to do it yourself. So I'm moving on.
Can I also ask, this was also on the chat, can I also ask about the license? Where do we get the license from? I registered into Zoom today, but I didn't have a special license. Do we need a special license?
Yeah, you do need a special license, and you have to reach your administrator, the faculty, the head of the administration. Maureen, if you are here, please help me translate, because I'm not sure what's the English term for Rosh Minhal, the head of the administration at your faculty.
Administrative head, you know.
Yeah, okay, administrative head, right?
I've already got a problem with that.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, my administrator on this program is the overseas Tau International. Nobody else.
Me too.
And that is fine.
I don't have anybody in a faculty to turn to.
So I guess that you are treated as a special faculty. So maybe Maureen is a good place, and she can.
Well, either she provides it or we don't do it. Or we can't do it.
Yeah, you have to send a request, a specific request to Maureen, and she'll have it to our IT team who produces the licenses. Okay, it's not that tricky. You just have to let her know that you are that you want the license, and she'll move it forward. Okay.
Sorry, can I? How would you translate it to Hebrew? רישיון לעבודה with.
In Hebrew, רישיון מורחב לזום.
סליחה, רישיון מורחב?
לזום, לשימוש בזום.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so if you can all close your microphone at the moment, if you're not currently speaking, that will be helpful so we can hear. Thanks. So the fifth tip, I just mentioned it, make sure that you think about your tabs beforehand. If there's something that you wouldn't like other people to see, close them. Also disable email notifications. Sometimes you don't think about it up front and the notifications keeps popping and interrupting the lesson. So be mindful of that. So the first feature that we've just seen is sharing your screen, sharing a presentation, whatever you'd like. And another one is recording your lesson. The same navigation panel that you already know, but hit record, of course, if you'd like to record a session. When you end the session, it translates automatically and creates an MP4 file that you can use. You can save it on your PC, but it's also being saved at Zoom's cloud, because video is, very heavy. So you can link students afterhand to these video recordings of the lesson. So it's very, very helpful to record the session. We suggest that you always record a session from this 3 reasons before you. Technical problems, some students may endure technical issues, even if on your end everything works well. Sometimes their internet connectivity is not working well. So technical issues is one reason. Absence. In the same way that sometimes students can't attend the classroom, there might be specific at this moment reasons why students can't join you at a specific time. So it's very helpful to have this session recorded. And also self-reflection. if it's the first time you are using Zoom to provide a lesson, it's very helpful to watch yourself afterhand, see in which moments you had difficulties, and think about how to prepare best for your next lesson. Before I'm going to let you ask questions about that, I'm going to address the other remark that we have on the page. You can use Zoom to create videos that are not only learned synchronously like we're doing right now. You can use it to create videos that students learn at their own pace. Just create a classroom, but don't invite any student to join this classroom. Share your screen, record the presentation, and you have a video that you can share with your students. So it's a very helpful way. Sometimes our lessons take more than 45 minutes. Many times this is the case, but it's quite hard to manage an online lesson that takes longer than 1 hour. So it will be wise if some of your content can be learned before classroom, before the online synchronous live session. And you can use Zoom to create videos quite easily using PowerPoints if you have, but also you can record yourself lecturing and giving an adequate material or pointers before the session begins. So now I'm going to stop, and if you have questions, you can write at the chat or use your microphone to speak.
So can I ask, just are we supposed to, is the lesson now condensed from 1.5 academic hours to just 1 hour? Is that the recommendation?
I think that 1 hour or 45 minutes is best. I know that it's very hard to think about this transition, but it's very dependent on the activity and engagement of your students throughout the session. If they are highly engaged, if you are breaking them into different rooms that you can actually do at this extended license, it can work even if it goes on for 2 hours. But if most of the lesson is being delivered by you, delivering content on presentation, it's very hard to keep track. It's of course correct as well in the physical classroom, but it's harder when you go online. So our advice is 45 minutes an hour tops, and give them materials that they can read at their own time to prepare to classroom. Is Unicode definitely inferior to Zoom, as Karen has suggested? I'm sorry, I won't be the judge of that. I suggest that you just try. Unicode is open to everyone that has a Moodle, that can go to Moodle. You can try it yourself, see for yourselves. Many of the functionalities are similar, but Unicode is integrated to Moodle. So if many students are going at the same time to Moodle, it might collapse and won't be able to have everybody access at the same time. Zoom has its own specific links that you can use. So it's just different. Karen says that she worked with Unicode today and it worked great until it crashed. Okay, I smiled and then stopped smiling. So I just suggest that you try it for yourselves, see for yourselves, and get a hand of an extended Zoom license to be sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So should we tell the class that we're going to be using Zoom, or do we use Uniqlo? Because I understood that the Zoom was just a sort of a backup system in case Uniqlo doesn't work. But should we start with Zoom?
It's up to you to decide, and you have to see if you are getting a hand of the licenses. The university currently purchased 600 licenses, and we're still distributing them. So at the moment, there are free Zoom extended licenses that weren't distributed. You can make your own choice. Both options work. There isn't any specific advice that I can give, except maybe for trying it yourself and see what works out more intuitively for you. Other questions?
With so many licenses, who makes Zoom, and do they have stock?
Who once again? I didn't hear
with so many licenses and obviously so many people buying these licenses.
Yeah.
Which company is this, and do they sell stock?
It's Zoom, and their stock just went up. It's been going up steadily in the past couple of days.
I think that
I can send it to you.
Maybe a month ago would have been a great time to get aboard, but
But I have a serious question. I mean,
yeah.
It's very serious. But so from what I understand, in order for the 40 minutes, I don't need the expanded Rishayon, right? I can work 40 minutes is not a problem so far.
Yeah, but do remember that you would like to start to kick off the session a few minutes before the students are getting in, so they know that they're in the right place. Some of you joined even 20 minutes before we started this session and entered this and wanted to make sure you're on the right place. So even if you open it 10 minutes, 5 minutes before the session, it takes from the general time of the 40 minutes. If it's enough, you can use the free license. That is fine, as long as you're not using it to more than 100 students at a time. The extended license doesn't have a cap for students, so you can use it for more students. The free license works well for as long as 40 minutes and with 100 students. I'm stopping the questions right now, and just few more things we'd like you to know, and then we're going to experience and try and have other questions, okay? So one other functionality that you have to be acquainted with is the whiteboard. Sometimes you would like to doodle or write things down, so you can do it on Zoom. If you go to the same place, please just make sure that you're all on mute if you're not currently speaking, okay? Just a reminder. So you can share your screen, and this time you won't click on the screen option, but click on the whiteboard option. And I'm going to do it right now so you can see how it works. I'm going to stop sharing the presentation and then choose again share screen, but I'm going to choose whiteboard instead. And can you see the whiteboard in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, so I can write text, I can write things down. If you are writing equations, probably you're going to need additional tools. You can see that I'm writing with my mouse, and it's not very quick or a nice writing, but it might be helpful sometimes to use these tools. I can draw images and different shapes. And this is additional tool that also exists via Zoom. So I'm going to stop share the whiteboard and go once again to the presentation. So this is the option of a whiteboard. Also note that once you are sharing your presentation, you can use a tool on the navigation bar. I remind you that you have to go to the red-green line, mouse over, and then choose the option of annotations. And you can annotate on the presentation at the time that you would like to address specific issues and present it to your students within the PowerPoint itself.
When you annotate in that fashion, it doesn't change anything with PowerPoint.
No, it doesn't change anything in the PowerPoint, but if I won't delete those annotations and I move on to the next slide, see what happens. Yeah, just a minute.
They'll stay there. Makes sense.
Yeah, I'll stay there and nothing happens. So I have to clear the annotations and also escape this option of annotations, because if I'm not escaping the annotations, I'm still stuck at the same place. Okay. So we're quite at the end. If you'd like to end the meeting.
Can you see me? I raised my hand on the thing, but you didn't see it for some reason.
Yeah, because
I want to ask.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, can the students use the whiteboard? Because usually when I teach a case, I have the student write down the case on the board, and then I continue talking.
Not simultaneously, because you're sharing your whiteboard, but there are other additional tools that you can use, like Padlet. I'm writing it down at the chat right now, which is a great tool that you can link your students to Padlet and then share your screen. And in Padlet, there's like a big canvas that students can post, like Post-its, and share their thoughts, pictures, videos, comments. And it's a great way for everybody to engage simultaneously and see the materials on the same time. So I recommend on Padlet.
What was this? What was it? Tablet, you said? How did you call this?
It's on the chat.
And I just wrote it on the chat. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
So let me just continue my question. So if I'm teaching something on Zoom and they're on Padlet, how can I synchronize all of that? Or is it?
You just have to share your screen and move to the Padlet tab, so you can see what's going on. Of course, make sure that once the students posted their materials, they're back on Zoom, because they have to see your screen. But you have them work simultaneously, individually, whatever you'd like, and have them post it on Padlet, and then make sure to schedule a time when everybody's coming back to Zoom to look together at the Padlet and discuss it. Okay.
But actually, it's the last question, just to clarify. But actually, if I'm showing my presentation and talking about it, and they're on Padlet, I can't see what they're writing, so it can't all happen on the same screen at the same time, right?
Once they've posted their Post-its or materials to Padlet, and you are sharing your screen and you are on Padlet, you can see everything. It's a live page. You're just watching your screen, but other people can see it as well. So everything they do on Padlet, once they've published it and click the enter button and it's visible to everyone, it's also visible to you. However, they're on Padlet, so they are not on Zoom at the moment. Zoom is open in a different tab. So I recommend that you decide and communicate with the students when to get back, in which time to get back to Zoom to continue the discussion or lesson. Okay.
So this means that we need to ask the students to log into or sign up with Padlet. Yes.
It's just a link that you send that they can react without any further subscription. So you just share the link to the Padlet that you've created and they can comment on it.
Okay, so I understand. Okay. So basically they're using the Padlet that I am creating, or that I create.
You can also use many other options within Zoom, like the chat, and let people speak and open their mics and video. But in order to work on the same canvas, I prefer to work on Padlet and not on Zoom.
Fine.
I see that two participants have raised their hands. So Gili, I think, was one.
How do you know that?
Because I have Hodea, help me, message. I have like an instant message that popped out on the screen.
I see.
Yeah. So
raise hand. I see it here.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
okay.
Gili and Inbal, you raised your hand. So Gili will be first, and then Inbal.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. What was your question, Gili?
I have a guest lecture. How can he be a part of the lecture?
You can send him the link in the same fashion that you send it to your students, so he can join the session. And within the session, you can click on manage participants. We haven't done it so far, but you can click on that and make him the host. You can give him the option to use Zoom and be the host. So you can be the one that creates the Zoom session and then move it forward and make him be the host if you'd like. He can also share his screen, video, and audio without being a host. So you just have to enable these options and you'll be able to present, share screen in the same way that you can do it right now, and we're going to experience in the next few minutes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can you please walk me through the steps of inviting participants? Once I've created the link to a class, how do I go about inviting people?
You receive a link and then you just copy this link and send it to their emails or post it to Moodle so they can have it before the lesson. It's just a regular link that you can share with everyone you'd like. You can, if you want, make it like a closed invite, so they have to use a password. But if your content is not protected, you can make it an open link, and that is fine.
Okay.
So we had another person that raised their hand before, Ronnie, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So what is your question?
You're asking me?
No.
No, I was the one who raised the question and then it raised my hand and then it was kind of delayed and I just asked it anyway, so it's okay.
Okay, so I'm moving forward and
can I ask something? Is there any way that we can see who has participated? There's a little button you can see there's 30 participants or 32 participants, but can we, like, if we afterwards we have to see who was online and who attended the course, is there any way that we can have access to that?
That you can download afterhand the participants like list of who attended the online session?
Or any other way that we may keep track of who attended or who did not attend?
Let me check if there is a clever way. I'm not sure if there is a clever way. If Dan, if you know any clever way, please write down in the chat.
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now. I don't see any way.
I couldn't hear you, Dan. Okay, so if we'll have any clever suggestions, we'll post it and maybe send it to Maureen, because I'm not sure if there's a.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Okay,
obviously,
so
Zoom
just
knows all the people that came.
Obviously, we couldn't hear you.
Zoom knows all of the people that joined. So somewhere the list exists. The question is, how do you get it?
Yeah, and another thing is that it identifies the people in the same manner that they subscribe to Zoom. They might subscribe in a different way and not in the same email or user that you are that you know them in the same name that you know them. So let us check and get back to you on that. So that's a good time to be a bit more active. Go to Menti, please, menti.com. It means that you have to open another tab. So once you've done with answering the question, go back right here. And I'm going to stop sharing the presentation, but share the internet, the web page, so you can see the results. So go to menti.com. You can enter the code 416223. And let's see what you think. Which feature did you like most? Okay, so if you didn't have enough time to see the code, you can see it on the screen right now, and you can join us and decide which feature did you like the most, which is the most helpful, sharing your screen, recording your lesson, or using a whiteboard.
I'm not sure how I go into this site when I've got you and this Zoom presentation on? Do I
You're
close
opening,
Zoom?
yeah, you're opening another tab. So you can't see me once you're inside menti.com. But once you're done answering the question, go back and you can see us. And you can also see the results. So this is about managing the expectations and make sure they're going to the additional tab and getting back to the Zoom website afterhand. Okay, so screen sharing. Lesson recording. What I like about Mentimeter, I guess that many of you have heard about Mentimeter, but if you haven't, it can help create many interactive questions. This is an open-ended question. It also have many other options that you can share with your students. And it's nice that you can see that it changes throughout the time and get them be more interactive throughout the session. Okay, and let me take a look at the chat to see if you have any questions.
Do you need a license for Menti, or can you just, you go on the site and then you get the code, or how does it work with Menti?
You have to create an, you have to register, and then you create your own questions. And once you've created these questions, you get a code that you can share with your students. So I've created these specific questions. And I go to presentation mode right now, so you can see the results, and we can all see it simultaneously. So what you have to say to your students is go to menti.com, enter this code. Behind the scenes, I've entered mentimeter.com. Dan, if you can write it down on the chat, that will also be helpful. Created the questions and then shared it with my students, okay, with you. So I'm stopping right now and returning to the presentation, but I think that screen sharing is a great favorite, and I agree it's the most simple way to be engaged with your students and to deliver content, but also lesson recording. I advise that you record every session, so I suggest that you'll also do that. Okay, so 7th tip, use interactive tools like Mentimeter to engage your students, to make them more active throughout the session. And finally, some technical things. If you can, use a wired network connection, not wireless. It works much better. Also, if your students can do that, that can be helpful. If you have, of course, you must have a computer. If you have a microphone and a headphones, people might hear you better. So see if you have this equipment that you can use. I'm using my laptop, and I think that you can hear me fine. So you can do technical, like a dry run before starting the session, the 5th segment practice. Do it before and see if your equipment works well, or do you need any additional aids. Another thing is to prepare your studio, prepare your surrounding. You have like a small studio behind you, so make sure the lighting is fine, that it's quiet. I've done my best with my kids. Currently they are fine, so I'm very pleased. And think about your background. If there's something behind you that you wouldn't like your students to see, make sure it goes off the way, and that you've thought about your surroundings. Another very helpful thing to know is that you can create your own personal settings. For instance, you can decide that every time you go to a new lesson, your students are that are entering, sorry, for the lesson, are on mute. So you don't have to mute everybody specifically. They're just muted unless you enable them, so you can choose this option. You can decide that you are working with the same link without creating specific links to different sessions, and you can choose these options, and then your students will have the same link all the time that they can use without creating different links. That might be a problem if you have classrooms that are neck to neck and or back to back. Once one lesson ends, another one starts. If it's the same link, they're all going to go to the same lesson at the same time. But if that is not the case, that is a great way to have a specific link that you are working to all your classes. Okay, so let me just see if you wrote down something on the chat and maybe had more questions before we go. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
When you have really big classes, I mean, I've been watching that I see a certain number of people at the top of the screen. How does that work when you have like 50 students? And perhaps they're online at the same time, they're watching you. How do you know? How do you get to see them? I mean, the screen isn't big enough to have all of them at the same time.
So actually, that is a great question, because you might have noticed that I'm not always fully attentive to your questions, because I chose the options to see on small screen and just have the chat pops up if needed. You can see all your students on full screen, but then you won't be able to see the presentation correctly. So you can use 2 screens, one for Zoom, and if you have additional screen to have all these other pop-ups working at the same time so you can see your students. If you have one singular screen, just manage the expectations. You can't see everybody at the same time, so decide if you are stopping at specific moments to see, to check up the chat, asking if they have questions and allowing them to enable their mic to ask questions. Okay. Okay, great. So the 5th recommendation is practice. If you are not feeling comfortable with Zoom's surrounding, it will be hard to deliver your content. So practice. And of course, Zoom license that I've explained before, I think through Maureen is the best way. Just a minute. Sorry. So any more issues about that technical stuff, you can write on the chat or open your mic and ask.
Can we save the transcript afterwards?
Did you mean to save the transcript of the chat or the video?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can save the chat. You can save the chat first.
Okay.
Okay. So just before I'll open it up for questions and for your experiment, these are all the different ways in which we can help you. So you can join us or ask questions through email. You can call. This is, of course, Tel Aviv University's number. It's quite hectic at the moment, so preferably if it's not very urgent, go to the email. We're trying to do our best to respond at a good rate, but the phone is very hard to get at the moment. We have our website that you've seen before. It's in Hebrew at the moment, and we're working on creating an English version. But all the materials and guidance for you and for your students are available there. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm muting everyone for the moment. Sorry, guys. So I just wanted to let you know that you can also use us to think not only about the technical parts, but also about the pedagogical aspects of how to manage to create the same experience online with your students. So if you'd like this advice or technical support, you can use the email, and we'll help you on both ways. And also, we can be there at the first time you teach online. We can join, like Dan is joining me at this session. We can join this session and help you with technical issues. Of course, send us an email, and hopefully we'll be available to support. So these are the main things. And what I'd like you to do right now, of course, ask questions, but try to share your screen. You are able to do that. You're able to share your screen with us. So we're going to take parts and share our screen. I'm going to stop sharing mine at the moment. if you have questions, you are more than welcome to ask them, but play with it. Click on share and share your screen with other members. So let's see the chat. Thank you. So thank you guys. If you're going away, click on 3 dots and then save chat. Thank you, Alex. Okay, so I'm taking a look at the chat, and whoever is quick enough to share his screen. Yes, Sima. Sima, so we can see your screen right now. Thank you.
Yeah, how do you unshare it?
I stopped Sima's sharing so other people can share. So
okay, good. All right,
so there is a big mess here.
Yeah, that's my job as a host, you know. Okay, and Boaz Shacham is sharing his screen. So nice that you can all share your screens. Lovely. You can also try to speak when you're sharing your screen, so we can make sure that we can hear you. Michael, hi. We can see.
Can I share my screen if another person is sharing the screen?
Once they're done sharing their screen, you can do that. So Michael, we can see your screen. Please click on stop sharing so other people can share. Thank you.
And I press on share screen and then I press on, let's say this, for example.
We can't see,
do you see
sharing, not at the moment.
Okay.
Did you press on share screen and then screen? You see many tabs.
Yes, that's what I did.
Okay. We can see you at the moment, but we cannot see anything that you're sharing. Okay, so if it doesn't work, write to us on email and we'll try to help you specifically, okay?
No, I'm probably doing something wrong, that's all, you know.
But we can make sure that we help you with that through email, okay? So guys, any other questions? If you'd like to experiment on sharing your screen, it's more than welcome to do that.
Sorry, can I ask a question? If I want to share a video, a clip, or let's say something from YouTube, or is it just straightforward of playing YouTube clip while I'm sharing the screen? Is that the best way?
Yeah, you just share your screen, go to YouTube, and they can see. They can hear. Once you've enabled your audio, they can both see and hear the video. Yeah.
Right. Thanks.
Sure. So Rivlin's screen is something that you can take a look at the moment. And
yeah, I'm on.
Yeah.
I'm on, but I can't see anything except you in very small.
Yeah, because do you remember the thin line, the green line, the red green line?
Yes, with the ID.
Yeah, go and mouse over this line.
Yeah.
And the options, the navigation bar will appear again, and then you
I can see the options above.
You've hovered this line, the green line, with the mouse.
Yeah.
If you're hovering it, the bar should appear. You should see some of the options, and then you have to enable it. You have to in the more options, you can enable the chat, for instance. And I see that you are using annotations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, how would I get? Okay.
Sorry. Would you like to continue to share? You can share again if you'd like to do that. Okay, so any other questions, any other people that would like to experiment, we're here for you. You can do that. We're in 3 minutes now. We have to finish the session, but I remind you, I'm taking a minute to share the screen again. Now I'm going to stop the options of you sharing the screen for a moment. Sorry, guys. And just share with you all the ways that you can reach us. So if we didn't have enough time to cover other questions that you had, if you are trying to create a lesson and struggling, please contact us so we can help you with that. That's why we're here for, so feel free. Any other questions at this moment? Okay. So I see that you are writing on the chat. Thank you guys all for joining. Great. So I wish you a successful journey through online learning, and I wish us all a great health at this period. Nice to meet you all. Good luck.